Ain't no mountain high, ain't no valley low, ain't no river wide enough, baby. You know who that is? That is Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell with the classic hit Ain't No Mountain High. Today, we are speaking to an international love coach. Welcome to this Astound Yourself Dating Show. My name is Richard Francois. Stick around. Good evening, everybody. My name once again is Richard Francois. I am your dating strategist. And tonight, joining me as always is my illustrious co-hostess. What is your name, illustrious co-hostess?
My name is Elaine Saunders, and I am your illustrious. I got it right, didn't I?
You sure did. Illustrious, yes.
Co-host, yep, that's me.
She's our illustrious co-host. She's also your intuitive matchmaker over
That's
there
right.
in all over New England and New Hampshire.
All of it. All of it.
All of it.
All
That's
of it.
right. If you are watching the show live, be sure to say hello like we just did. Hello to you, Tammy.
Hey, Tammy.
Ask us questions, make comments, tell us what you love, tell us what you like. Just participate. This is a participatory show. And we invite you to join us by making comments on the show. Tonight, we have a very special guest joining us. I'm going to have Elaine tell you about her because a siren is blaring by. Go ahead, Elaine.
Wow, we have a hot guest. That's why the siren's going off in the background. All kidding aside, we have a woman who is an international love coach. Her name is Nadika. I'm not even going to try the last name because if I can't say the word illustrious, I can't say her last name. Let's face it. She's awesome, though. Her first name is also the word for river, which is flowing like energy. So it's the perfect last name for her. And I found her, like I found many of these wonderful coaches, in a great group that Richard and I belong to on Facebook for love coaches. So without further ado, a great follow-up to our guest from last week, from our conversation that we just had. We're going to invite her right now to be on our show. Nadika, welcome on board to the Astound Yourself Dating Show. How are you tonight?
Is it Viswakula, by the way? Is that how you say it?
It's phonetic, so it's Viswakula.
You stumbled. You stumbled. Cool. I saw that.
I always think it looks scarier than it actually is.
It's scary.
It's intimidating. Yeah.
I dropped a last name that was kind of scary. I have it on my ID, but I don't have it on out there. So I get it. Sweetheart. You're a sweetheart. Talking to you before the show. So happy to have you on board today. Talk to us. Tell us how you got into this crazy business that you're in. But you're international, not like us. You're international. So tell us how you got into this.
Well, the good news is we're all multi-dimensional. So I'm kind of boxed in by saying I'm international, but I've had the pleasure of working with many souls from around the world. And so hence the title international. I think it's so beautiful that we get to do this work with the technology that we have, with the divine connections that we have with one another on a soul level, that healing, love, and just collaboration can happen across the globe.
Absolutely. Meeting a lot of people and some of the guests. We have a guest coming on next week. He'll be coming on from France. So excited to have him physically. He'll be tuning in from France next week. So, but tell us.
Muy bien.
Tell us more about how did you actually step into your role to do what you do?
So I started to delve in because it actually, the beauty, there's always a silver lining in anything that doesn't always feel good. So for me, it was my first breakup. I fell madly, deeply in love. I believe it was 20 or 21, something along the lines of that. And thought I was engaged to be married, thought it was going to be the person of my life. And then all of a sudden things didn't feel so good. And when the breakup happened, I was single for a really long time, 8 years to be exact. And then when I got in another relationship, it didn't have to take that long for me to figure out that the patterns were starting to look really similar and that I was the common denominator. And that there were some stuff that I had to look within myself. Instead of pointing one finger out and having three pointing back at me, I decided to actually, hey, look within and be really raw and authentic with myself and really peel back the layers and see sort of what's causing these common denominators and these places of resistance to happen where the relationships that I was attracting were not free flowing.
So it all began with you. It was because you saw something, a problem, and you saw a way to solve it, or you were able to solve it, or someone else helped you solve it.
So I started working with lots of, the reason I can call myself an international love coach as well as I've worked with lots of teachers from around the globe. There's beautiful, I like to call them Sherpas because they're not necessarily, one person's a teacher, the other person's the student. I don't consider myself a teacher and someone else a student. There's no hierarchy. We're all sharing energy, learning from each other. It's some people have tapped deeper into their connection with, I sometimes use the word God. Sometimes that word is offensive to people, but God, universe, source energy, whatever word you like to use that connects you to your higher self. It is you. It is the most heightened part of you. And so I've worked with many different teachers from across the globe that have helped me connect to my unique gifts that reside within me, that have just awoken through all of my traumas and experiences. Breakups are not always easy, and that they're a great foundation to start your inner healing because the emotions are so raw and so beautiful at that time. So it's a great point to look in and go, where is this pain coming from? Because I assure you, 100% that pain is not only in the now, it's coming from some place in the past. The root of that pain is coming from somewhere in the past, whether it's your childhood, a past lifetime. There's so many possibilities, but you can definitely tie it to your childhood.
I gotcha.
And we can from that.
So yeah, so from a certain viewpoint, it sounds odd to hear pain is beautiful, because pain to me is beautiful at all cost. I was on the phone today talking to somebody like, oh, just like a physical pain situation, like, oh, just throw as many pills at it as you can until you don't feel any more of it. But an emotional pain is a different type of pain. So that's the type of pain we're talking about. And there's a beauty in that, when you can figure out what causes it and how you can turn that around when you have an understanding of it and where it comes from. Is that what you're saying? In other words?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So we're in the little beautiful profile that you had created. It says how there's, I want to call in the one that's for me. And the same thing for emotions. Like, I'm not asking anyone to go out there and be like, oh, anger and deep sadness is beautiful, so let's go manifest more of it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is observe it if it's showing up for me already, and be in compassion and forgiveness and love for myself for having that naturally showing up for me. Because if it is naturally showing up, there's something for me to heal there. There's something for me to look at. So once it's no longer controlling me and my emotions, then I can release it, and I don't need to attract it anymore because it's showing up to teach me something. And then I have all this space over here to keep drawing in bliss and happiness and excitement and childlike energy and beautiful experiences that are free flowing.
Makes sense. So yeah, it takes a certain amount of bravery to do that, though, don't you think?
It takes vulnerability. It takes courage. It takes love, compassion, patience. It's not a light switch. It's not always that quick and easy. However, it can be a really fun experience. It does not have to be grueling. I always tell my clients, like, actually what I'm doing is helping you connect to your inner child. I want you to be so fascinated with splashing in puddles again, and like really being fascinated by the little bugs that are in nature, and just staring out at the sun and Mother Nature, and like all this beautiful stuff that Mother Nature has provided for us to connect to.
So in that vein, it's like you're having to remove an awful lot of obstacles or an awful lot of stuff. Isn't that like you're peeling away, when you talked before about peeling away stuff, blinders or obstacles, or like taking things out of a path type of thing. So when somebody employs you, so to speak, how do you go about, do you give them an idea of how long this is going to take them when you work with them, or how long does it take somebody to move through this process? Is everybody different, or do some people work through it really quickly, and do some people take forever? Do some people like never get it type of thing in your experience?
Yes. I love that question. So the short answer is everybody's on their own path and their own timeline. And really, like, there is no beginning and there's no end, because we've all been doing this work. It's just how awake have I been while I've been having these experiences. So what I like to say is, what I usually work with on the first day, what I'll have a client do is let me know where they're at on their inner joy scale. So how blissfully happy are you right here, right now, in all the different areas of your life? So scale that between like 1 and 10. There's usually 4 general areas. They're physical, like your physical being, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So there's sort of like 4 pillars. But also you kind of just can get a feel on sort of your general life. Most of the time, are you waking up feeling sort of blissful and happy, or do you feel like you know how to connect to that even when you get derailed? Because we're not all blissfully happy 100% of the day, myself included. And so it's just knowing that at any given point in time, I have the tools in my tool belt, and I can choose joy, or I can choose any other emotion, and it's my choice.
What's one tool somebody can use, Nadika, to choose joy or choose something else when their circumstances make it clear that this is not joy right now? Maybe they just heard some sad news about somebody they care about, or they just got laid off, or you name it. How do they then choose joy? And what's one tool that you have in your toolbox that you share with your clients that helps them choose joy?
There's a few little mantras that I like to sort of have people play as they're programming, and this is some of the things that I work with. So if I know that the universe, God, source energy, is always working for my greater good, for my highest good, to support me, that no matter what's happening, even if I'm losing my job or someone passes, that it's happening for me and not to me. If I can remember that the universe is here supporting me all the time, 100% of the time, there's never a time when someone's against, like, universe, God, source energy is never here to punish me, to like teach me a lesson, so to speak. It's here to support me. It's here for my highest evolution. If I know that to be true 100% of the time, then I can remind myself of that. I can go back to that barometer and go, okay, yes, I just lost my job. Could it, like, okay, first of all, take a couple of deep breaths, because emotions are coming up. Usually when that happens, and emotions will come up, and honor those emotions. And then take a moment to like actually observe, like, what's beneath these emotions. Every incident, everything that's happening around us is happening for us. So what is their opportunity? What is the silver lining here? Could there be another job that's lined up for me that I never dreamed of for myself? And so God's taken it into his own hands or her own hands and is wanting to deliver this to me. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme of, God, the illusion of God, and has this big, huge teddy bear behind his back, his or her back, and is giving this and taking the smaller teddy bear from the child. And the child's like, I don't want to give up this small teddy bear, but doesn't know that there's this bigger, better teddy bear behind his or her back that they're wanting to offer. And so like, we don't always know in our conscious mind what's best for us, but our higher knowing and our connection to universe, source energy, God is what will draw us to what we are actually deserving of, that we may not actually know we're even worthy of. We may not be in a place of self-love to even know that we are worthy of this bigger teddy bear that's coming for us.
So what I hear you say, Nadika, is that when people seek coaching, they oftentimes seek coaching from the physical realm. What do I do? What do I say? How many times do I swipe? What do I respond here? What should I wear? Their coaching is sought in the physical realm. And although that's the realm that we live in and that we're very familiar with, your coaching is for people to embrace the spiritual being that they are and to tap into that. And I heard, you didn't say the word, but I was hearing surrender in what you were saying. Don't try to control what you can control, but surrender that there's something happening that's beyond your control and turn it over. Just turn it over, not just give it up, but turn it over to something bigger beyond who you are. There's a siren coming. I hope you can't hear it. It's not drowning me out. But that's what I heard. And that's different from succumbing. Succumbing is being defeated. But what I heard and what you shared is the surrender to something bigger, whatever that is. Now, what if somebody's not spiritual, Nadika? What if somebody is not spiritual or religious? I described myself for years as a recovering Catholic. Nothing bad happened. I just was like, okay, I'm done with religion. And that for a while, I was just not into anything at all. No praying, no meditation. What about someone like that? How can they re-enter the realm of their spirituality if they're now watching this show going, well, maybe there's something there. I've tried everything else. What's a way to begin a baby step into spirituality for somebody who's watching going, not for me?
Well, thank you so much for asking that question. And I couldn't have paraphrased it any better. You heard the surrender because on an energetic level, it was there. It was delivered and you received it. So thank you for bringing that up and describing it so eloquently. So one of the things that going back to sort of when I first take in a client is I work with people that are finding any kind of resistance, whether that be the belief that they're not spiritual. The thing is that not one of us is exempt. We're all souls that are borrowing this body or this meat suit on this human journey. And it does not matter what your connection to your soul is. Some people find it through religion. I myself I don't consider myself religious at all. I do find myself deeply spiritual, and each one of us does have a soul. So it's where we came from. So it's where we're going, like back to source energy. So we do have a connection, but just because we've disconnected from it, it doesn't mean you're bad, wrong. There's no judgment on it. It's just if you're feeling a call to explore deeper, and your connection to source will be your alignment to your inner joy. So you don't have to call it God or energy or spirituality. It's just focus on your inner joy. Like I tell people, if splashing in puddles literally makes you happy, do more of it. If painting makes you happy, do more of it. If taking long showers makes you happy, do that. Don't worry about the planet and saving water and all this stuff because everyone's going to be okay. The universe is abundant. It's going to be okay. Do more of the things you love. This has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. In fact, if there is a block, which there was for me, in the past, the word God used to trigger me big time. And I had to work with that trigger. And when I worked with that trigger and I unplugged the charge that it used to have, from my own childhood trauma and my own ancestral background around the word, I was able to unplug it, and now I can use it interchangeably. I could not use it. It doesn't have a charge anymore. If a book mentioned the word God, I would stop reading it instantly. If anyone mentioned the word God, I would stop listening instantly. It's like I literally had a trauma response to it.
Wow.
So, and there's no bad or wrong. It's okay. Wherever you're at right now, it's okay. All that matters is focusing on your inner joy and your inner bliss.
So how does somebody not, because I heard that what you're saying, the inner joy, connecting to something bigger than yourself, connecting to what brings you joy. But I also hear a pitfall there, which is that, particularly in our society, people confuse joy with pleasure. They confuse joy with more stuff, more physical acquisitions, more possessions, more joy. They confuse it with status. It's not something that comes from within. It's something that's validated from without. It's the place where I live. It's the restaurant where I can afford to eat. It's what type of plastic is in my wallet. It's what do I drive? Who is in my arm when I go a certain place? It's all those things. How does somebody not confuse those things with joy? And I'm just talking about I'll call them the milder stuff, but there are also vices that people might think they find joy in that are actually destructive to their soul, but that just check off a box quickly for their body. So how does one, I know that's a complex question, but is there a way or a discipline to start separating joy, true joy, from frivolous pleasure?
Well, I kind of think that's where you kind of find God. That's where you find spirit. That's the difference between someone being spiritual or non-spiritual. And why some people are messed up individuals and don't have their priorities in the right order and are hurting, that's where people are they're not healed. And it's funny that you bring this up because it makes me think about something I read on your website, Nadika, about bullies being hurt. They're hurt people, and they're not spiritual because their spirit's been broken, and they haven't found God. For lack of a better word, I use God. I have God in my life, and I feel spiritual, and I praise God and thank God for all the good things in my life. But people who have had bad things happen to them, I always see, if you see a mean person, that's somebody who's had something bad happen to them, if that makes sense. So that's, yeah, that's how I view it.
So when
people so people who are accumulating and they're trying to fill their boat or their house with stuff, but it's not helping them bring joy. It doesn't bring joy. I don't care how many nice cars you have or how many motorcycles you own, and you can keep collecting stuff, but it's not fulfilling. You're just like the hamster in the wheel. You're going to keep going, and you can accumulate all the gold in the world but never feel fulfilled because it's not fulfilling. It's not filling up your spirit. But when you give to somebody in need, when you're giving and you love, when you're loving and giving, that's when you start feeling like you're splashing in puddles, and that's when the joy comes in your life.
Yeah. And I just want to add, none of us are in a position to judge. I'm not here to judge whether someone else is truly in bliss or joy. That's we're all responsible for our own inner joy and our own bliss. And to answer your question, how I like to answer in more of in a very tangible way, I always say that the outcome never matters. And no matter what I'm doing, it's either coming from a place of love or fear. And the feeling, of either of those two options feels really different. So love is when you're divinely connected, and fear as anger, anxiety, frustration, insecurity, uncertainty, anything that's not love, anything that's not blissful, it will go under the category of fear. So as an example, to a tangible example, if my goal is to make $100 million, I can make that decision from fear, which is I grew up poor, all this programming, I grew up poor, I'm never going to be poor again. And that's a scarcity mindset. It's coming from fear. I need to make $100 million so people respect me. I need to make $100 million so that I'll be loved. All of those are fear programming. And I go out there and I'm trying to make $100 million if my life freaking depends on it, right? Or there's, you know what? This is the amount of money that I'd like to manifest, because if I manifest this money, because I know I'm deserving of it, this is what I would like to do with it so that I could contribute and do all of these different things. I could travel the world and I could be the best version of myself manifesting that amount of money. It doesn't have to be that amount of money. I'm just saying, if that was the example of the end goal, there's two ways to go about it. And that would be the difference between coming from a loving place and a more fear-based thought process and programming. So once you heal it, you actually don't even really care if you manifest that. You know, the funny thing is when you let go, I could probably earn 500 million, because that's more what I'm deserving or what I'm here to do. Like, we're all here on a different path, on a different journey for different points of service. So what the universe is bringing to me is for me to fully serve with. So if that happens to be a Ferrari, then hey, so be it. That's not bad or good, or there's no judgment on it.
Right. Makes sense.
Is there a time when a response that is fear-based is actually serving a person, and that is the appropriate response at that moment versus a love-based response?
I don't believe so. And the reason is the ego can be quite tricky. I call it, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on here, but I call it a spiritual
Give it a try. Let's see what happens.
I call it a spiritual mind fuck, because it's like, okay, no, actually and it's the ego that's spiritualizing ego. And it's saying, oh, well, I need $100 million because when I have $100 million, I'm going to feed all these homeless people, and that's going to make me feel better about myself. The thing is nothing outside of me can make me feel good about myself. I must know that I am connected to divine source energy, and that I am love, that I am blissful in my natural state, in my essence. I am whole, perfect, and complete. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am divinely intelligent. Everything that I have that I'm ever going to need is right inside of this vessel, not anything external. So the moment I think that I need anything around me to make me more, better, happier, it's not happening. It's a falsified happiness or joy.
Gotcha.
We won't tell Amazon Prime you said this.
Was it my F-bomb?
I don't think they care about that. It's just
I think
the more and more, I'm thinking, wow, so much industry is based on giving us more, feeding us more, making us want more, having us do more, be more, become more. Even a lot of, quite frankly, the self-development, self-help coaching has to do with more. And it's very different from the norm, what you're saying, to just be enough from where you are and to connect with the spiritual self, which has and to degrees of infinity what you need as a being, as an individual, a person, a spirit, whatever you want to label it. It's a very unique way of looking at it.
And it's interesting because I work with a lot of affluent clients, and you'll see how I've been in some of these luxury vehicles, like vehicles that are worth a lot of money. some 500,000, some even up to like $1 million, like a car that's worth that much, and how they are around it. Like you literally have to take your shoes off and have like a, you can't touch anything and you're restricted. And whereas if you can have that car.
Are you allowed to burp, God forbid?
What's that?
Are you allowed to burp in the $1 million car?
No, my goodness, no. There's no bodily fluids or air. No, you're not allowed to breathe. No, I'm just kidding. What I'm saying is that though they have this luxury thing, they're confined and restricted in their experience with it. You can have the same beautiful car, but be free flowing, because knowing that, hey, if it gets scratched, you have insurance for it, but not be paranoid about it. So if you're paranoid and in fear, you're not enjoying it to its nth degree. If you can't breathe or burp, it's probably not a fun.
No fun.
It's not a practical place to have fun, be blissful, joyful, happy, because you got this anxiety. It's like, oh my gosh, if a piece of sand or dirt off my shoe gets on the carpet, and then, or, whatever, there's a chip or a dent, like it's just not free flowing energy. There's a resistance there.
Not good. Not good.
But you can have both options. You can have that car and have a blissful experience, or you can have that car and be in resistance. Either way, it's a choice. That's the cool thing. You get to choose.
Makes sense.
You get to choose. What a great note to end on. You get to choose. So for those of you who watched and chose to make no comments, we love you anyway. You got to choose, and you chose to make no comments. There's the only wrong way to watch the Astound Yourself Dating Show is to not watch the Astound Yourself Dating Show.
I think everybody's just mesmerized today.
They are tuning into the conversation and really just taking it all in. Thank you all for watching the show. And you are welcome to comment afterwards, share it with your friends. We are going to give Nadika a chance to tell you where you can find her if you want to hear more from her, get more of her information, or perhaps connect with her for a coaching session. Nadika, how can our audience find you?
You can find me at nakedlovecoach.com. And also I have a healing circle that I conduct every Tuesday evening. That's at 5 p.m. PST, so Pacific Standard Time.
So that would be our time at about 8, right? Yes.
Yeah. So if you guys would like, you're welcome. Any of your viewers would like to join in. It's open to anybody and everybody at all different levels of awareness. Nobody's exempt. You can definitely email me or just come to my website. My email address is info@nakedlovecoach.com.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. We'll have to put that on
and if you're wondering what naked love is, by the way, folks, we didn't get to that question, so you'll have to go on the website to find out what naked love is all about.
We're not going to address that right now. I was hoping we were going to address it now, but I guess we ran out of time.
We did run out of time. Do you want to give us a quick synopsis of what naked love is? Can you talk about that in a minute or less?
Yeah, sure. So it's just about peeling back all the layers. We kind of chatted on it. We touched on it, peeling back all our layers and sort of like re-exploring who the true essence of myself is, and not so much the mask that I've been conditioned to show up as. Like even the title International Love Coach, is that really truly who I am? I'm so much more beyond that. So just really peeling back, like I'm so much more than just a woman. I'm so much more than a daughter. I'm so much more than a sister. Like I am so, like all the titles can be stripped. All the conditions and programming that has been there. Like I want to peel all of that back, and I want to learn and love and explore the true essence of each being out there, and myself as well.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you. Awesome.
Yeah.
Elaine, your turn. Tell us where to find you. Where can our viewers find you, Elaine Saunders?
Elaine Saunders. With the New York accent. Thank you, Richard. I can be found on Facebook at Dynamic Introductions and on the World Wide Web at dynamicintroductions.com. And that's it. Call me. My phone number's on my website and on Facebook.
There you go. This is how you can find Elaine. And if you're looking for me, If you are in particular a nice guy, you know who you are. If you're a nice guy, you've been told things like, "You're so sweet, you're so kind, I wish there were more like you, don't ever change," by the same woman who complains about her jerk boyfriend. Yep, you know who you are. If that's you and you want to know how to stop getting hugs and get kisses from the women you like and want, I have the program for you. It is 8 weeks long and it's called the Attraction Dating Course. And I'm going to be offering one in April. Hit me up here on Astound Yourself Dating or go to grichard360.com for more information. Until then, we will see you all next week for another episode of the Astound Yourself Dating Show. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.